everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I have something kind of exciting planned. Today is going to be like kind of a podcast episode. I want to kind of have like a discussion with you guys revolving prom. So I wanted to kind of talk about why I didn't go to prom, some of the things that factored into my decision to not go to prom, and then some of the things that I think need to change when it comes to prom in the US and probably in some other countries as well. But I just want to clarify that I don't want this to be offensive to anybody. I just want to have a discussion. So if you disagree with any of my points, feel free to go down into the comments below and let me know what you think. I would love to hear back from you. But yeah, I think this is gonna be really fun. I've got some statistics for us today and I'm really excited. So I'm kind of gonna hit different points of why I didn't go to prom as I talk about the different things that I have a hard time coming to terms with when it comes to American prom. But I do want to say I don't think that prom is something that should just be eliminated from our culture. I was listening to a podcast called What We Said Podcast, and there was a woman on there, I can't remember which guest it was, but she was talking about like American culture and how like we don't really have one anymore because so many of our traditions are, you know, being challenged right now, and that's not a bad thing. Things are changing, but like Thanksgiving, like it's not really something that we're trying to move into a new Thanksgiving, I feel like, versus like the Pilgrims and the Indians just enjoying a feast, which obviously is not what happened. So I think that prom is something that should be celebrated in American culture, but also something that shouldn't become a huge waste of money, clothing, all that stuff. So I think that there are things that we can fix when it comes to the tradition of prom. So I did some research and I found out that prom was actually short for the word promenade, which was basically like a little like debutante ball type of thing that they used to have in college for American women and boys, which kind of made sense to me because this was back in like the early 1900s. In college, I feel like you probably had quite a bit of money back then to go to college, but I don't know, maybe I'm just being weird, but apparently prom got passed down to high schoolers in the early 1920s, and it started at white high schools and then eventually gave way to having integrated proms and made way to the proms that we have today. So let's talk about prom today, shall we? So one of the biggest reasons why I didn't go to prom, and this is just my own personal reason, was because let me turn this up a little because you guys are seeing a lot of shadows on the back wall. So one of the biggest reasons that I did not go to prom was because of the social game that was at play. In high school for me, I had a very hard time. I was bullied a lot. I did not really have a lot of friends. I had like a very small group of friends that I hung out with, and then I hung out with my church friends a lot. And like, I just think that for me, prom was something that I really had no desire to go to because I really didn't want to be around a bunch of people that I wasn't really friendly with, if that makes sense. It just felt like unnecessary putting myself in a situation when I already had to deal with all the drama at school. So I didn't really feel like spending a night going to prom, especially spending the expense on prom, when I didn't really think that it was necessary when I hung out with my friends like separately. So that was one of the biggest things for me. Okay, so moving on from social, another big factor in not going to prom for me was the expense. So my mom and my dad paid for my college experience, but I had to pay for quite a bit as well. My mom and my dad helped me a lot. My mom covered my tuition and my books. My dad covered my rent, a lot of car stuff, and my mom helped pay for my gas. But while I was in college, I still needed to pay for groceries, for food, for like entertainment. I lived at Disney, so I went to Disney a lot. I spent a lot of money there, clothes, all that stuff. So for me, going to prom, like, maybe 6 months before I was going to college just didn't make, no, it wasn't even 6 months. It was like 3 months before I went to college. Just didn't make any sense to me because in my mind, I was so excited for college that I was like, I would much rather just take this money with me and spend it in college. So that's exactly what we did. My mom and I made a deal that she wasn't gonna pay for prom and that I could take that extra money with me to college, which I ended up liking a whole lot more. So anyway, I have my first set of statistics for you guys. In my handy dandy unicorn notebook, let me share with you guys what I have on prom expense. So I got this all from a source called creditdonkey.com, which I know does not sound legit, but they sourced each statistic that they found on their webpage. So I will share with you what those were as I go through. So the first expense statistic that I have is the average household in the United States spends $978 on prom, and that is sourced by Visa's Prom Spending Survey. And that was in 2014, which was the year that I graduated high school. So $970 in the US. In Canada, it was average $723. And then in the UK, they found that it was actually the most expensive, spending about 1,000 quid or 1,500 USD on prom. So a couple of weeks ago, I met a group of teenage kids, and one of the girls said that she had paid $600 for her prom dress. What? $600? Like, my wedding dress cost, I think my wedding dress cost like 600 something, and then like with the taxes it came out to like 700 or something like that. But $600, do you know how much you could use that money for? And then like, that's not even factoring in the shoes, the handbag, the hair, the makeup, the car rental if you decide to get that, the dinner before, the dinner after. Like, there are just so many things that come into play when it comes to prom. They also found that parents averaged spending 56% while kids ended up spending 44% of the cost, which is pretty interesting to me because a lot of the kids that I have seen going to prom don't really have a job that they work for. So I don't really know, like, I guess it's just the average between kids who work and kids who don't work. But for me, I was not working at the time of high school, so my mom would have had to cover the majority of the expense besides like anything that I had already had saved for college. So that is the first statistic. I just, for me, I'm very stingent about my money. So for me, it's like, I just feel no need to spend that much money when I knew that I had so many other goals in future for me. And I just think that's why I like doing videos like the video I did last week where it was like shopping for prom dresses at Goodwill, or, you know, other things that I plan to do in the future. I think next year I'd really like to do a thrift flip with like maybe an old wedding dress and kind of like dye it and make it something new. But I'll see how the budget looks next year. But I just think that there's so many other ways, guys, that you can still go out and enjoy prom while also being able to not spend $1,000 to get there. So that's just my opinion. I would like to know what you guys think, and if you feel comfortable sharing how much you spent on prom down in the comments down below, because I would be very interested to see if you regret it, if you're happy with your decision, if you really enjoyed your night and felt like it was worth the money. But even for me, like my wedding, like I knew that I didn't want to spend a tremendous amount of money because I wanted to spend more money on my honeymoon. I wanted to spend money like putting money towards a house, things like that. Whereas I didn't feel like a wedding night, which is one night of your life, was something that needed to be incredibly expensive. But that's my opinion. Obviously people have different ones, but that is just me. So I just wanted to share that with you. Let's talk about sex. I think this is such an important piece of prom because in the US, I don't know if it's the same in Canada and the UK or any other country that has prom, but in the US there is such a tremendous pressure to have sex on your prom night And I experienced this firsthand, well not firsthand, I guess secondhand, with my husband Blake, who was dating another girl at the time of his prom. And he told me that all the guys were like, so are you guys gonna like have sex tonight? Are you gonna like, you know, seal the deal tonight? And thank God my husband was like, no, and he didn't feel pressured by his friends to just do something because of peer pressure. But I still think that there is such a tremendous pressure on young girls and young guys to do something that, like, if they're like, that's not really something that they might not be ready for that. Do you know what I mean? Like, and they're just feeling pressure from their friends, and they're feeling like, oh, this is something everybody does. There's no shame in like waiting until after college or after high school or whatever to do that. And I just think that the pressure on high schoolers to lose their virginity is so unfair, and it's like trying to make them grow up so fast. Like, they're already gonna be growing up, I'm sorry, my nose is so itchy. They're already gonna be growing up so tremendously over the next few months of their life with going to college, living on their own, all those things. I don't think that there should be this unnecessary pressure placed upon them. And a lot of the times I've noticed the people who are pressuring other kids to have sex haven't even had sex themselves. So I don't know why we have this. I just think that it's so ridiculous. Anyway, I have some statistics for you guys. So surprisingly, it's a shockingly low number of kids who actually lose their virginity on prom night. It says 5% of girls and 3% of boys lost their virginity on prom night. So I don't know if that's because they had already lost their virginity, or if because a lot of kids are just strong in the face of peer pressure and they're like, they don't feel the need to do that. However, they did find that 1 in 5 female girls were the victims of physical or sexual abuse during dates in their high school time. So that's not necessarily regarding prom, it's just regarding dating in high school in general. And that's just an outrageous number to me. 1 in 5 girls, like, in high school. That is just insane to me. And it says that it's at the hands of a date, like not even at the hands of family members or anything else like that. So I just don't really know what to say about that. I think it is absolutely ridiculous, and I just feel so bad that there's just so much pressure on girls and guys that I don't even know what to say. In 2012, it was reported that 300,000 girls ages 15 to 19 gave birth. So the pregnancy rate is pretty high for girls in high school. And then it was reported that there are 19 million new STD cases per year for people ages 15 to 24. I just want to throw this in there real quick. I recently saw a bunch of people sharing articles about a new male birth control, which I think is great. I think that's awesome that men can use birth control as well as women. However, I think that it's important to talk about the fact that getting pregnant is not the worst thing that can happen to you if you have sex. And if you're only taking birth control, you are still setting yourself up for a tremendous number of sexually transmitted diseases that can be protected in other forms of protection. But I just wanted to point that out. I'm just gonna stick it in that part of the video because it's boggling my mind how many people are excited for this male birth control, but they're not realizing that you can still get sexually transmitted diseases. That's all I gotta say about that. Lastly, the last thing I want to talk about is the amount of waste that comes from prom. So I could not find any statistics about it. I don't know if anything has been done to figure this out. But I was talking to a bunch of people and they had told me that their prom dress or their prom outfit that they had from when they went to prom is still sitting in their closet like 6 years later. And I think that a lot of dresses and bags and shoes probably get worn that one night and then never get worn again. And I think it's great if they get like donated and then people can reuse them again, but I just have a feeling in my heart that a lot of them probably just get trashed or probably get like destroyed on prom night, and so they get trashed as well if they're covered in like mud or something. And it's not just the waste from like the clothing, the shoes, and the bags, but there's also a tremendous amount of waste, I believe, when it comes to, how do I phrase this correctly, just so much waste. All the decorations, all the plastic cups and foods and drinks, the parties that are thrown afterwards, number of cars that are producing waste just to get to prom. And that's not to say that I'm perfect when it comes to waste, but I really think something should be done about it, which is why I try to make my videos like last week about like recycling and using old dresses again. But I think that if you're going to prom this year, just do one small thing for the environment, whether it's getting a secondhand dress, getting secondhand shoes, getting a secondhand bag, or donating those clothes after, or reusing that stuff after, like cutting your prom dress and making a short dress that you can wear again. I just think we all should play at least a small part in controlling our waste and reducing our waste. And I saw a video the other day of a swan building a nest out of plastic, and it literally broke my heart. And right now I'm trying to find ways in my own life that I can reduce my waste and my spending on things that I'm only going to use one time. And I just wanted to stick that in there because I think prom does have a lot of waste when it comes to it, and I think that there's something that can be done for people who go to prom. There's an impact that can be made. So that's my opinion. I just also, the last thing I wanted to say was prom just isn't really my scene. Even my husband said prom was like the most boring night of his life, that there was horrible music, that it wasn't a lot of fun. And for me, like, I just really don't enjoy dancing. I don't really enjoy socializing. I'd rather be at home like reading a book or watching a movie or just having like a game night with my friends. So that was another factor that came into play on why I didn't go to my prom. But I think that if you really enjoy the concept of prom, I'm not trying to put you down in any way. I just wanted to kind of have a discussion about it, so I'm curious about your opinions. So again, please let me know in the comments down below what you thought about this video, what you think about prom, and what your experience was going to it. If you would like to share, I'd love to hear from some people who hadn't gone to prom between like 2010 and 2019. Some people who maybe went in like the 70s or the 60s, and kind of see what your experiences was, if it was different, if it was still kind of the same tradition. But anyway, guys, that's really all I have for you today. I hope I did not offend anyone. I promise I was not trying to offend anybody in this video. I just wanted to have a little conversation and a little discussion, a little back and forth. So I'm hoping some people comment on this video so we can kind of chat about it. And I hope that you are all having a wonderful, wonderful week. I will see you on Thursday with a vlog, and just keep being awesome. Bye!